What's up, y'all? Professor Hurley here with another episode of Purple Bear Biology. This video is going to be the first of a few episodes that revolve around the nervous system. I'm going to put the links to the other videos in the description section, but consider subscribing to keep up with the other videos on AMP, microbiology, and some general principles in biology. Have you ever taken a look at our nervous system? Perhaps you saw a picture in a textbook or online. While in New York, I had the privilege of visiting a bodies exhibit that had preserved cadavers isolating different systems. This is when I got a real glimpse of our nervous system's complexity. It's a seemingly endless web of elongated tendrils that permeate and innervate every region of our body. The complexity is difficult to miss, but as is the case with many things, the more we know, the more we realize we have just begun to understand the function and physiology of this amazing biological information highway. At first, the nervous system can seem quite daunting, so to make it easier to discuss, we are going to divide it into different divisions and talk about the functions of those, as well as talk about the integration of information. For this episode, we will focus on the major divisions of the nervous system, the primary cells that we can find in those divisions, and the basic structure of a neuron. Let's start with the major divisions of our nervous system. Our nervous system can be divided into two major divisions. The central nervous system that consists of our brain and spinal cord, as well as the peripheral nervous system that accounts for all of the other tissues throughout the body. The central nervous system, or the CNS, primary function is as an integration center for processing sensory and motor information, while the peripheral nervous system, or PNS, serves as an electrical highway for sending rapid messages to and from the rest of the tissues throughout the entire body. Because of the vast number of neurons in these different locations, it's helpful to break these down into subdivisions. So let's take a look at how we divide our nervous system. Okay, so like we said, we have our central nervous system, which consists of our brain and our spine, and this can be abbreviated as CNS. If we leave our central nervous system, we'll enter into our peripheral nervous system, or our PNS. This is all of the other nerves in the body. Because of the complexity of the PNS, we can subdivide this into two major branches: the sensory branch and the motor branch. We can divide this into the somatic sensory branch associated with perceiving sensory information primarily from the skin and skeletal muscles, as well as the visceral sensory branch that is responsible for monitoring organs, glands, and homeostatic set points. Collectively, all of the nerves that go from the sensory up to the central nervous system are referred to as afferent. Just like our sensory branch, the motor branch can be divided up into two major branches as well. The somatic motor, associated with skeletal muscle movement, and the visceral motor. This is also sometimes called your autonomic nervous system, abbreviated as ANS. We can technically further divide our autonomic nervous system into the parasympathetic division that prepares our body for rest and digest responses, and the sympathetic division that prepares our body for fight or flight responses. We will discuss more about these autonomic divisions and their effects on the body in later episodes. Collectively, all of the neurons that lead out to the body for motor movement are called efferent neurons. So now that you can see your nervous system in pieces, it already probably seems more manageable than the interconnected webs of strings jumbled together that we looked at earlier. But let's start talking about the different types of cells we can find in these different branches. There are two primary cell types in the nervous system: neurons, used to send electrical signals, and neuroglial cells that provide supporting roles in nourishment and repair, as well as helping speed up neurological signaling. In your peripheral nervous system, we have neurons of all shapes and sizes, even varying morphological arrangements depending on the location and the function of the neuron. If we take a look at a generic example, we can see that neurons are composed of four primary pieces: the dendrites for receiving signals, the soma, or the cell body, for maintaining cellular function and the location of the nucleus and its genetic information. We have the axon that's associated with sending electrical signals, and the synapse, where neurotransmitters are released to stimulate signal transmission or stimulate a response in the innervated tissues. Wrapping around some of the axons of the peripheral nervous system neurons, we can find our primary peripheral nervous system neuroglial cells called Schwann cells. These act as insulators to speed up signal signal conduction along the axon. Our neuron can be divided into three primary areas: receptive regions for receiving signaling, conductive regions for sending signaling, and secretory regions that are associated with secreting neurotransmitters to pass that signal along. If we jump over to our central nervous system, we still find neurons associated with sending and receiving electrical signals, but we gain some really cool neuroglial cells with specialized functions. Astrocytes serve as the cells that help our nervous system repair and are responsible for forming the blood-brain barrier around the capillaries. Oligodendrocytes act like swan cells and wrap around the axon of the central nervous system neurons, speeding up signal conduction. Microglial cells help police the central nervous system and act kind of like the trash man, picking up any garbage that's left behind. And ependymal cells directly filter the blood to create cerebral spinal fluid. All of these amazing neuroglial cells are responsible for helping support the primary function of our central nervous system, which is integration of information. Isn't this also cool? All of these cells actively communicate with each other and the other tissues of the body to help us perceive and survive in an ever-changing environment. Our next video is going to focus in on how neurons receive and send signals, as well as how we can measure and quantify these signals. I hope you found this introduction helpful, and let me know in the comment section if you want to explore something in more detail. As always, it's been a pleasure to get to talk with you. Thanks for stopping by, and see y'all next time.